Hi everyone, it's Madalen Ross from SBMS, the QVM Trader Connect program. Today we've got Peter Topping, who's going to have a look at our new marketing planning series for the QVM traders. So we're going to be looking at digital marketing tasks, tricks, tips and activities to help traders develop and enhance their digital footprints in 2022. We're going to be looking also at the secondary brand leverage, which is to get more out of the QVM posts and what they share with us, not only online, but in the Trader Bulletin. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Peter Topping, one of our experts in IT, marketing online, and many other talents. So Peter, welcome.
Thank you very much, Madalen. Yes, just a quick thanks to Madalen and to Ross and David for giving the opportunity to do the session with QVM and Queen Vic Market. As Madalen said today, there's going to be about 10 sessions across the year, and the purpose of the 10 sessions really is to identify things that traders can do to get more out of their marketing. One of the key challenges that people often face is the fact that anything digital can be overwhelming. And in a small business, where do you start? What should you be doing? What's actually going to make an impact? And everyone's got lots and lots and lots of advice, but it's very difficult to actually articulate into meaningful work. So hopefully what I'm going to do is talk about things that you actually can do and things that will make you feel like you're making progress. So my first observation, apart from welcome to 2022, is that this is actually year 3 of the pandemic, right? So if we'd known this was going to go on in 2020, we would have made different decisions. If we'd known it was going to go on in 2021, we'd have made different decisions, but we didn't know that, right? So my first insight for marketing is don't think it will get back to normal, okay? And this first tip is to say you've got to pace yourself, because we don't know how 2022 is going to turn out, but we can actually know that it's not going to be 2019, it's not going to be 2020, and it's not going to be 2021. So there's lots of things that we can do if we set our expectation that it will be an unusual year and decide what we want to get out of it and try and take a bit of control over our own destiny. So welcome to year 3. So my first goals should be, what should you try and do? You should try and stand still based on 2021 if you traded in 2021. Okay. The other thing that we need to do in order to get ahead is take a little bit of time to look back. And when I look back on the things that have happened through QVM and my involvement with SBMS, 2020 was about getting grants, and we use those grants to stay alive and to get online. Okay. Now, what actually happened in 2021 and 2020 is people got online, but often we didn't get online very well. Okay. Or we didn't have the skills to get online very well, or we just basically broke into being online. So 2022 will be about actually adding value, consolidating where we're up to, and managing changes that will come about. Because one of the things we do know is that the platforms will change, Google will make changes, Facebook will make changes, Instagram will make changes, and also what people do will also change slightly. So where we're at now is we're online, we've got platforms, we've tweaked those platforms, we've learned lots of things. Now we're actually in a position to actually try and really deliver some value and some revenue in 2022. What we do know is that it's not going to go backwards. People won't shop less online. They won't stop using their mobiles to find businesses, services, and events. And location marketing, which is even tighter now than it ever was before, won't go backwards, right? So those things have happened. Even if we get lots and lots of international guests and lots of tourists in the market again, that drift to mobile and online shopping isn't going to change, right? So we're in a good position to either start now or consolidate what we've already done. So when we're thinking about getting ahead online in 2022 and we look back, right, it's worth thinking, well, what did I achieve? Okay, what did I achieve? What went well? What went wrong or badly? What still needs doing? What was I good at, or what was I just okay at, right? And finally, did you spend money online or did you make any money online? And lots of people spent state government grant money online, but they spent a lot of time. So, even if you haven't made money, it wasn't necessarily cash that you were spending yourself. So it is really worth just taking a few moments to think, well, okay, what have I actually achieved, right? And if you actually achieved getting a website, then you're actually online where you weren't before. Did it go well? Well, only you can be the judge of that, right? But I think um, getting a bit of a list together about what's okay and what you thought you were good at and what you felt comfortable with is a really important place to spend a bit of time doing, right? Because it will identify the gaps, and also it might be you might find you're better at things than you thought you were. Okay. The other thing is that you can dig into your systems to find out information and try and get some insights about 2021 so that you can see how you're going to go in 2022. So there's always those business statements: what doesn't get measured doesn't get done, right? But in the digital systems that we've got an enormous amount of data. And if you look in to say, well, what did it cost? How did I do? It's worth knowing that. So if you know what it costs and how you did in 2021, you can set that as a benchmark for 2022. So if I look at a client in the market, I've gone and I've looked at their digital marketing, and I've looked at the period, and I've looked at the period 1 October to 30 November 2021, right? They got 3,000 clicks. That's like 3,000 people coming to the store, 3,300 people coming to the store, right? They had a click-through rate of 7.5%, right? What that means is that for every 100 ads that they put up, 7.5 of those ads got clicked on. That is a really good conversion rate. In other businesses that I work at, you're looking at a click-through rate on keywords of around about 2%. So anything between 2 and 3% we consider to be good, and anything between 1 and 2% needs work or deleting, right? So 7.5% is pretty good. What did it cost us to get every sale, right? And that's the cost conversion. It costs $3.60. So as long as we're happy to spend $3.60 to get a sale, right, and we know what the margin on our product is, then that's fine. If the product that we were selling was $10 ice creams, the $3.60 would be a bad idea, right? Because we'd be giving up close to 40% of our margin to acquire a client. Okay. And how much money did we spend in the period? We spent roughly $2,000. So when we look at our sales and we look at our average yield or margin, we can see whether the activity that we were involved in was any good. Okay. Now the red and blue lines you can see are the number of clicks, and the blue line's the number of clicks, and that's the one that goes here, and the red line is the click-through rate. And what you can see, you can get information from this, right, is the fact that in this particular period, we showed lots of ads, but for some reason in that early November period, that people they clicked, right, but they clicked in huge numbers, but the rate wasn't actually as good, right? Whereas the rest of the time it was pretty. The graphs follow each other. Basically, the more clicks we got, the better the click-through rate. So we were satisfying, people finding the right product. And I suggest here this is probably just a bit of pre-Christmas shopping, where people were just clicking around, trying to get ideas, trying to see what we were up to. They were just prospecting effectively. So then I looked at the period 1 December to 31 January for exactly the same amount of data. And what you can see here is the number of clicks drops off, right? And that's basically the Christmas period. And then it started to pick up again in January. Okay. What's really interesting at the end here is that we're hardly showing any ads, right? But the click-through rate's fantastic. Click-through rate's up to 12%. So the people who are looking now are really, that's considered to be really in the purchase zone. Not showing many ads, getting lots of clicks. Exactly the opposite to what we looked at in the other one, where the blue line was really high, which was a lot of people looking around, right? But not that much activity. But you can see that the cost per conversion went up to $5.77 in that period. So each sale cost us a lot more money, but we spent less money. So it just gives us a bit of an idea of what that time period is. So next year, when we're halfway through that period, or we're in that period, if our cost click-through rate or our costs rate per conversion is lower or higher, we know whether we're doing better or worse than last year. when we went back to 2020 and 2021, most people weren't tracking the data. So they didn't know if $5 was a good conversion rate or if $3.60 was a good conversion rate. But we know that our target should be to get under $3.60 in other parts of the year. That's where we know we're doing okay. So when you dig into your systems, there's plenty of data that can actually inform us. And this one, and it might seem like a lot of information, but it's exactly the same information about the sales and the systems, but it's displayed in a completely different way. Okay? So what we've done is we've broken it up by city. So before Christmas, after Christmas in Melbourne, before Christmas, after Christmas in Sydney, before Christmas, after Christmas in Brisbane, and there's Perth, and there's lots of other cities, but I just got the top ones out of there. And we can say, basically, based on our figure that we put in to measure this, right, what the revenue was. And there's some really interesting things here. We had half as many users after Christmas, but we made nearly the same amount of sales. Yeah? We had half as many users since Christmas, but we did nearly as many transactions, 19 to 20. That's quite unusual. You'd expect it to be the other way around, with Christmas shopping and giftware, but it's not. So there are interesting things that you can learn from that, right? Our conversion rate, e-commerce conversion rate, has gone up in the post-Christmas period rather than down. Okay. The other thing to look at is we're a Melbourne-based business. We're based out of QVM, all the activities out of home and QVM, but actually we made $1,300 worth of sales in Melbourne in November, but actually $1,700 in Sydney. In the post-Christmas period, it was pretty close. It was only $20 in it. But what it is the digital business has allowed, or the digital platform has allowed that business to get revenue from Sydney and Brisbane, which walk-in through the market wouldn't have happened. Right? So this year's been good. It's been a worthwhile activity. And we know now, when we get to 2022, I can say, show me the data, 1st of November to the 1st of December 2021 versus 1st of November to the 1st of December 2022, and I can see how I'm going compared to last year. So I can say, oh, Christmas is going pretty well. It's costing us X. These are our figures. So what we've done is we've just began to collect the data, right? There's lots of other useful information here that we can look at. If in the future things aren't going well, and we look in here and we see that the number of pages that people are going to has fallen, and that the bounce rate on the site is going up, we can see that the site no longer satisfies the customer. Have we made too many changes? Is it wrong? Have we made it confusing? There's usually a reason. It's usually our fault. Okay? So there's lots of data that's now collected in here that will help us measure our future performance. So Christmas 2022, 21 in this case, has been really useful because we've got a benchmark. We know that in a good month, our clients, right, most of them are new clients. They're about half of them come to the site and stay on the site. They look at 5.3 pages. They stay on for at least 4 minutes. And if that's the case, about 20 of them will convert out of 500. And out of that, we'll get about $1,300 worth of sales. And our sales conversion rate is 2.5%. We've got a benchmark. So whether we feel it's going badly or whether we know it's going badly are two different things. We can now come in here and find out whether it is going well. Okay, so collecting data that's free from your system is a really, really crucial activity that you should do at this time of year. Okay, especially if your business is in giftware and you're relying on that period before Christmas, or it's in summer goods, or it's in things like tourism products, which generally would have sold well in December, January, February, when there's lots of people around in the market, and again at Easter. So now's the time to collect all that data up, have a look at it, and see whether it's worthwhile. If you're losing money at $5, we need to talk again. Right? If you're making money at $3, we need to talk again. But it gives you some information about, I'm just throwing money into the internet, am I succeeding? It gives you the tools to work that out. So the first thing that I think that all small QVM businesses can do is have a look at all the information that's available and assess honestly how they think they went and decide what they want to do and where they want to be successful in 2022. So I think that brings us to the end of our kind of first action items, which is to kind of dig into your data, right? And your data can be Google Ads data, it can be Google Analytics data, it can be your Wix website data, it can be your email traffic, anything that gives you information. How did you do, right?
And
And
also, Facebook and Instagram insights, if you've
yeah,
been,
exactly right. Thank you for mentioning that, Mel. I
mm.
didn't even do that. So all of that kind of stuff, have a look at Christmas 2022 because for Christmas 2022, because in 2021 people had made the move, right? It took 2020, 2019 to kind of move us along, but we're really here now and it's not going to change. So you may as well look at this as the benchmark, right? So let's use that, right? So my next action item is basically to ask people whether they've closed off Christmas 2021. And in retail, it's quite common that people don't do this. And how do you close off Christmas 2021? The first thing is you spend some time in your AdWords account or your Google Marketplace or your Facebook Marketplace, and you make sure that you've paused or turned off anything that is Christmas, right? Because otherwise you're just wasting money. Those terms will keep popping up, and you'll have low relevancy scores and low quality scores because you won't have Christmas product on the website. So make sure you go through and turn off any campaigns or keywords or both that were related to Christmas, right? When we have another session in September, we're going to look at those keywords and I'm going to ask you what were your best keywords for Christmas, because we're going to think about turning them on in October. So we'll go back and analyze them and see which ones cost money and which ones converted later on in the year. But meantime, I want them to be turned off. So are all your gift ideas, are your souvenir ideas, are your mum's Christmas pack ideas, are they all turned off as it relates to Christmas? Okay. And the next thing that we wanted to do is make sure that you've edited any pages, Christmas pages or collection pages in your Shopify, WooCommerce, Wix, etc. And what that is if you've got Christmas collections, there's two things that you can do. If there's no date in the URL, you can either, the best SEO practice up is put up some thank you text, talk a little bit about Christmas 2022, and tell people when you're going to update the page with gift ideas for 2022. Okay? And then put a note in your diary to say, I've got to dig that page out in September 2022. If the other thing you can do is unpublish the page. And that means you just go into the back end and it'll say public or private, published, the WooCommerce, Shopify do it all different, and just turn the page off. Okay? It just unpublishes it. When you're ready to redo it for next year, you can edit it up and publish again, and it will go up again. Okay? If you're just editing the text and you're saying thanks for Christmas, we'll be back again on this page with our great Christmas ideas for Christmas 2022 in September. Go through, and if you've got a meta description, make sure you've added the word Christmas 2022 and taken out any references to 2021. Okay? So really, it's just a close-off process. The reason you're doing that is that as you leave a Christmas page open, as Google looks at your site throughout the year, the relevancy of that page and the score of that page will go down and down and down and down and down. There's no new content on it. The dates are out of date. It's not relevant to anything. If you manage it, Google pays attention to that. And when you turn it back on, it'll have a history and a legacy, and it'll have fresh content on it. So turn off any promotional activities and edit any pages. And the next thing is go to your social media. And if you've been away and been on holiday and you've got Facebook and Instagram posts to do with Christmas, make sure you publish some other things to push them below the fold. It doesn't matter what they are. Just put some posts up there, fill up some space, and push all that Christmas stuff out of the fold, because it's February and you can't say Happy New Year anymore, and you can't say hope you had a good Christmas. Like, we're done. So just put up a couple of posts to push all that content down off the page, and that demonstrates to clients that the kids are back at school, the New Year's begun, that Christmas is behind us, and that you're paying attention to the details. It sends out a good message. So that's your second set of admin tasks that you can do, if you're looking around for a task to do for early in the new year for your digital assets, right? The next thing that you can do, if you really want to get a bit more serious, is you can sketch out a marketing plan or a set of marketing activities that you can do online. You'll have all this information in your head, and really, my job with a lot of clients is to get it out of their heads and down on paper so they can turn it into executable items. Okay? And you can either think, well, oh, I don't know what to do, and maybe the students will come back, maybe the domestic traffic will come back. That's all wishful thinking. We don't have any control over that, but we do have a control over what we can do online, right? So it's better looking at your business and looking at your online offering and saying, okay, what are the seasons, moods, themes, and cycles of my business over a year that I can take advantage of or create activities to do in in my digital assets. The key thing is that anything to do with SEO in particular, you need about 8 weeks in lead time. So anything you want to do for, it's 2 to 8 weeks, depending on how lucky you get. Anything you want to do for March needs to be done now, right? So what are the event opportunities? All the event opportunities that are consistent across the whole year are things like schools back, Valentine's Day, end of summer, autumn, Labor Day weekend, Easter, Queen's birthday weekend, footy's back, footy's finished, footy's finals, there's cricket, the beach is back, people overseas holidays are open or overseas guests are coming. It's winter wear, there's spring wear, there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day. There's a whole absolute heap of actual individual events that you might think about leveraging. There's night market. There's there's all sorts of things that go on in the city and also in the Vic market and in the wider community. What is important to do is sketch all of those things down. Obviously, if you're in clothing and footwear, one of the key things there is the seasonality, right? So what are you planning to do for the seasons? If you're in clothing and footwear, you should be doing your autumn pages now, right? This is it. Let's get them done. Or you should be planning to clear all that summer stock, which you can do through collections. Obviously, the other thing, if you're in clothing and footwear, is there different themes for the different sets of weathers. You've also got Mother's Day, things like that are kind of coming up. So really what we want you to do is just take a bit of paper and just work out, sketch down the details, right? So what's the event? Is it Valentine's Day? Have I got a gift idea? What am I going to do? I'm going to put together a collection. When should I do it? And you can put in some dates, right? It's autumn. I've got to clear my summer stock. I'm going to use Google Ads to do that. I'm going to create a value offer. When should I do that? Put all these things in together, right? And
Peter,
decide.
can I add something else, which is coming up in February, and that is the 22nd of the 2nd, 22. That's
Yeah.
all the twos, and that's probably a really good opportunity where you offer something like a 2-for-1, or buy one get the second one at $2 off. Using the twos as the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And those things are well worth doing. Yeah, we've got a client who does a sale every 28 days based on the full moon, right? And it's just called Full Moon Madness. And why do they do that? It just came about by accident. It was a suggestion by one of the staff. No one else is doing it. It means every 28 days they basically do some sort of promotion or clearance or something, and they've got a reason to go out to their clients, right? And also, no one ever minds to being told it's a full moon, right? It actually, they go, oh, really, is it? It's just a curious kind of thing they've got, and it's their kind of weird signature thing that they've done, and it works quite successfully for them. Once a month, they get to do something different. So yeah, at the end of financial year, there's a whole heap of things that you can think of, but the only way you can get to them is to try and write them down and sketch them out. It's a really useful activity to do. The other thing is that if you can't think of anything to write on Facebook, if you've got a touchstone and you go, well, what are the themes, right? The themes are autumn, the themes are footy's back, the themes are school's back, the themes are it's the end of financial year. There's always a theme that is actually going on out there. So by having a sort of checklist, it gives you an ability to then articulate that into social media, or to put up a collection, or to say something new in your Google Ads. Like I said, the key thing that causes inactivity is just trying to work out what to do. There's always a million things that you can do, but what should you be doing and what could you be doing? The next thing is people say, well, should I do that on Facebook or should I do that in Google Ads, right? It's just overwhelming. And the key thing is there that procrastination then becomes the enemy. So if you've got a list, it doesn't really matter what you do from my point of view, as long as you're doing something, right? And the easiest way to do that is to do something small. So it helps you deliver a discipline by creating a little marketing list like that, and it helps to give you ideas, right? A lot of people missed out on the Black Friday sales this year because they didn't think of it until after everyone else had started advertising it. And then they couldn't get a collection together. And then they say, well, what I'm going to write in my Google Ads. And by the time I got to talk to them, it was a week away, right? But we know when it's coming in 2022, so we can get it down on our list and we can do something about it and get set up in October. So that by the time it comes around 28 days later, we're sorted, right? We can take advantage of that. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about doing. And we can post about that on Instagram, we can post about that on Google Ads, we can put a collection together, we can talk in Facebook about those things, as long as we're organized and we have time to do that. But the reason why you can't be generic is that every business is different. I mean, we've got Bunny's here there, and she's got natural healthcare products and beauty products, right? And Dorita's here, and she's got souvenirs and giftwares, right? You can't create a generic calendar because every one of those is different, and they rely on slightly different calendars. So you've got to do it for your business. Okay, so there are other things that you can do over the quarter that are really simple, okay? And one of those things I think that people need to do is, given the fact that we've had 2 years of the pandemic and this is year 3, we need to go back to some basics and look at your QVM listing. Now, I looked at a lot of QVM listings, and I think the Hat project has probably got one of the better ones. If you look at her listing, or Bruce Goose, then that's really the benchmark. So her listing really takes into account and gives best advantage to her brand, right? She's got her links to her Facebook on there. She's got links to her website on there. She's got a phone number on there. She's got her email on there. She's got the fact that you can order online on there. So have a quick look at your QVM listing. It often comes up first, and you can leverage QVM. This is about their brand. They do a huge amount of search engine work. They do a huge amount of SEO work. So if you want to leverage them, make sure your page is up there. And when you look at the page, just ask yourself, does it sell you? Does it sell your expertise? Does it sell your trustworthiness? Does it sell your product or your service, right? If it does in text, then are the links good, right? Is your phone number on there? Is your email on there? Is your Facebook on there? Is the Instagram on there? Is there a link to your website on there? Is there a link to the instructions on how to find you in Google My Business?
The other thing that you could add on there is a link to your Google reviews.
Yes, absolutely.
So that, if that link is there and they've been to see you or have had any connection with you, they've got the link right there where they can add a review for your business.
Yeah, I mean, there are several businesses that sell hats and caps in the market, right? But you probably go to the one where it says, here's the direction, here's my reviews, it shows that I'm good, here's my Facebook page so I can see what other people say about me, and actually I can just have a look at the website and know what your inventory is like before I get there. She's likely to get that business, right? And that can be anyone from a tourist who needs a sun hat, or to someone who wants to buy an Australian Akubra or something like that. So it's worth spending a little bit of time and looking and saying, okay, we did this QVM setup years ago. Is it relevant, right? It's a 1%er, but I think that it is worth looking at. Similarly, I'd like to say the same thing about Google My Business, right? A lot of people have got directions to their stalls in there, and due to the renovation, they're not there anymore, right? Or they've moved, or they're trading on different days. It's worth going through and having a look at Google My Business and checking that all your details are up to date and that the links to the websites, and some of you have changed your websites, are working and up to date, as are all your contact details. The other thing is that Google can now verify you right down to a location in the market. And Madalen and I are going to go through this and get people to do that again. But we're probably going to have to wait until after the renovation is finished, because otherwise we're going to put people in the wrong spot. So there's a new way to verify yourself right in the details of the market now, which didn't used to be possible. So there are two things that you can do if you don't want to do anything on your website. One is check the relevancy of your listing in the QVM, because QVM is successful online. Secondly is to go over your Google My Business again and make sure that all the connections and things are still there, and that it connects really well to your other digital marketing assets. So go through and do all of those basic admin things in this first quarter while it's a bit quiet, right? So that's a third thing that you can do that we've already got to. And, I don't expect people to do everything, but I just want you to do a range of things that keep you active so that you don't get stuck in the fog of, I don't know what to do, there's so much to do, it's all overwhelming. And the thing that I want to talk about next is secondary brand leverage. And this came out of a conversation with Madalen. When Madalen talked to the traders and we got some feedback from the traders, one of the things that people wanted to do was work out how to get more out of the situation at QVM. And what that is called is secondary brand leveraging in a market terms, right? And the classic example that's most easy to understand of secondary brand leveraging is travel agents and Qantas. Qantas is the brand, right? Qantas is the national brand. Qantas is the international brand. Qantas is the brand that's got the world's best safety record. Qantas is a proxy for quality. It's a proxy for good things that are Australian, right? Travel agents advertise using Qantas, and they advertise Qantas products and sales, because what they're doing is leveraging the good name and the good brand of Qantas to say, book this product with us. It associates them with a quality brand and associates them with a quality reputation. And it also says, we sell something which is trustworthy and mainstream, so therefore we're probably trustworthy and mainstream because Qantas allows us to sell their product, right? So that's what secondary brand leveraging really is. They're leveraging all the advertising and PR and media that Qantas are doing by saying, come to Hello World Carnegie, or come to I Talk Travel, Footscray. So it's just called secondary brand leveraging. So what you do is you put your business in strategic alignment or brand alignment with QVM. And QVM has got money, and they've got resources, and they've got great photographers, and they've got great brand people. So the way you do this is that if QVM does any advertising, you can repost that advertising and talk about it. It's completely legitimate, right? You can say, great new ad from QVM, or QVM's really seeking a younger demographic, or we're really, we're really seeing great return. It's great to see the return of international students with a great picture that they've put up, right? You can repost the best pictures that are relevant to your business, whether it's food, whether it's fashion, whether it's the night market, or whether you just repost their content and talk about it, okay? If you're going to repost their photographs, you've got to give a photo acknowledgement. That's the rules. You've got to say image by QVM when you tag it up, okay? The other thing is, if you want to leverage an event that's on at QVM, like music or the night market, what you do in your social media is you create an event, okay? And the people who follow you can see that you've created an event, and it will ask them whether they want to go or not go. And we had an interesting conversation, which is that you should still create the event even if you're not trading that night. Because what people want to see is that you're aspirational and you're being associated with something that's modern, that's funky, that's innovative, and that's kind of a sort of symbol of Melbourne. Because lots of your clients will be stuck at home with the kids on a school night, which is a market trading night, wishing that they were there. So by creating an event and telling your customers about that, you're leveraging the brand and the reputation and the innovation and the fashionability of the night market. You don't have to be there, right? It's just you're associating yourself with both the brand of QVM and the event and the kind of funky things that they're doing. And so you can do that about the music, you can do that about the wine show, you can do that about the food court renovation, you can do that about some of the interesting things that goes on in the dairy hall. Okay, so the simplest set of brand leverage is to sit down, look in the trader post, see what they've got in the media section, and pick out the cherries and write your own version. They'll have a great photo. Okay, so it's really about identifying yourself with the brand and the activities of QVM and leveraging that. That's the secondary brand leverage that you've got. You can also get secondary brand leverage from the trams. You can also get it from the City of Melbourne when they use images of QVM and when they mention QVM. You can say, great, great new ad from the City of Melbourne. Why don't you come down and see us when you're at QVM? Or, anything really, really simple that you can put out there. It's just a way of building a social media calendar for free without thinking every month. So read the bulletin, keep your eye on the ads, repost everything that's good. So that's basic, the most basic sort of strategy for leveraging more out of the market. So when we sat down and we talked about this, we looked at a couple of examples from the current trader bulletin, and you can see over here on the left-hand side, right? They've got some great pictures of the night market. So why not leverage that? Why not put out the fact that the night market's on? Why not create an event? And why not say, great to see the night market back and at QVM again, 5th of January to the 6th of April. You can put the event in every week or put it in for 5 weeks and publish one of those pictures every 5 weeks. Don't forget the night market this week and put the date in. You can use the advert that's over here on the right-hand side, summer night market. So that's just
I added the Google alert. I actually have on my system an alert that comes through from Google Alerts. It's a free thing that you can do, and you can repost something like if you click on that alert, and it then talks about the night markets. So you can get that URL and then place that on your social media. So, and make a comment, saw this in traveller.com.au, so it's just giving you more to be able to post and leveraging the QVM brand as well.
Yeah. So the Sustainable Living Festival is, again, you can create an event there and you can say the Sustainable Living Festival's on this weekend. There's a free tour. Why don't you drop in and see us? At the night, we'll be there, right? It's just, all it does is it says, I'm engaged. Here's QVM. Here's an event. It makes you look engaged and busy and part of something. So you don't want to just draw someone down to the market to come to your store. In theory, that's a possibility. But if you can give them a greater reason to come, then you've got more chance of attracting them. So there's lots of content that's produced by the by QVM itself in the Trader Bulletin. It's just a matter of practicing picking the eyes out of it. And what it is, it's generally useful for social media content, and just to help you stay engaged and stay relevant that with stuff that's there. So I hope that kind of makes sense. How to get secondary brand leverage from the night market. The night market's funky. It's got music. It's got contemporary eats. It's aspirational. So why not leverage off it? Especially if you think the demographics are the same. So the first part of the talk was really just about generalities and admin and things that you could do for your particular business in the early part of the year. Close off Christmas. Think about your achievements. Get any data out. Check out. Go through your pages, especially if they were done by student projects, to make sure that your listing is still good on QVM and that your Google My Business is up to date, and prepare to do a better location job once you're back in the right shed. So the second thing I want to talk about was actually a practical individual thing that you can do on a website. And I thought I might just talk about some of these as we go along because they're concrete operational kinds of things that you should do. So before Christmas, I found that we were quite busy with store holders talking about category pages and collection pages. And the reason that we were doing this is that they were using those pages for Google Ads and also to try and get better SEO. So what we tried to do was fix things. So people had websites already, and then we tried to fix them up. Okay, so which was a totally valid activity. What I want to do now is talk about them in the opposite direction, is how they can be optimized from the setup. Okay, so depending on what kind of shop you've got, whether it's WooCommerce, Wix, or Shopify, you will either have category pages or collection pages or both. Okay, now category pages and collection pages are navigational pages, and people pass through them on the way to get a product. And for a lot of businesses in the market, you can't afford to have ads on individual tiny products, which cost $20 because you'd have too many ads and it would cost too much. So you go to collections or you go to category pages. Okay, they usually have a big image on them and not too much text, right? So they're quite hard to get good SEO scores on, and they're also quite hard to get good quality scores on for Google Ads. But there is plenty of opportunity. Now, the simplest mistake, and I'm going to cover it early, is that Google have said out loud on the record that they will penalize people who stuff their category pages and collection pages full of SEO text. So don't do it. 600 words is going to be great. It's just about where we can put them. So when we think about category and collection pages, they differ from product pages in the fact that product pages are transactional. So their keywords are buy, shop, bargain, discount, price, offer, 2 for 1. They mention brands like Hermes, Kangol, Nike, Waterford, all of that kind of stuff. So they are generally action orientated and transactional pages. So they've got a different kind of call to action. When we talk about category pages are basically linked from the main menu and they stand between there and products, right? What you can say on category pages is quality, okay? And the other thing you can put on category pages is links to FAQs and links to blog pages and links to shopping guides and size guides, right? You can also optimize images and pack the images full of alt text. And you can also make use of headings and subheadings. So that's generally what you can do to build out information on category pages. So if you've got a product page and it says D-Marks French linen women's pants, right? Then those are all kind of really good SEO terms that you can talk about. And then you can put a value proposition such as 2 for 1 or price. On a category or collection page, we might be talking about women's pants. So we can talk more about quality, range, and depth of inventory on this particular site because that applies to all the products that are on them. So it gives us a different set of words that we can link to, right? And then if we've got FAQs, so we can have FAQs on whether we should buy, how do you take care of linen pants, what you look for when you're going to do linen pants. And then we can link to a blog page and we can say, this year's 2022 fashion item is going to be, 3/4 length women's linen pants. And, we can talk in generalizations about that. And then you can have shopping guides, right? So it gives us an opportunity to do some SEO and have content which isn't necessarily transactional. It's not buy me, sell me, add me to carts category stuff. It's a bit more general. So, and one of the opportunities you've got with that is obviously optimizing the text. And I know Madalen goes on to people about optimizing text. Optimizing images, and it's because a lot of us did it really, really badly at the beginning, and we still sometimes get a bit lazy now. when we're talking about a category page for women's clothes, right? When we put out a big hero image in, we need to put that in the title of the image. We need to put it in the name of in the alt tag of the image, and then we need to somehow get that information on the page, right? So the way to get that information on the page is to use headings and subheadings, and Google will read all of that. So it's because we can't put a big block of text on that page all about women's pants. We can put a limited amount of text on there about women's pants. We need to take our kind of best opportunities. And what I've done is I've actually found a site from hats.com, which I think does it really well. So the first thing I'm going to say, obviously, is I've chosen a brand to give an example of who's got an absolute bucket of money and is a multi-million selling company. But if you look at people who do it really well, then we work out what we can do within our context. Okay, so it's men's hats, right? They've got the hero image. The image is quite well tagged up, right? What they've done is they've followed that with different kind of sales opportunities, new arrivals, top sellers, etc. They've put their popular products underneath it and given a price guide. And then down the bottom, what they've done is they've got a couple of paragraphs of text content. And what's really clever about the text content for SEO is how they've done it. Okay, so they've broken it up into 3 sections. If you look carefully, the hyperlinks for SEO here are to hat styles. So what they are collections within the category. So they're going to have a baseball caps collections page under which they'll have products. They're going to have a flat caps collections page on which they have products. They're going to have a fedoras collection page under which they've got products, right? So Google's going to like that. The next section they've got, right, is about brands. And they're going to have links to the brand pages here, right? And so what they're doing is they're telling Google, we've got these range of hats and we've got these key brands of hats, and it's a section about hats. And then they've talked a little bit about here about styles. Yep. And then down here, what they've got is sort of blog content links. And that's men's headwear, hat sizes and accessories, right? So what they've done is they've advantaged their blog by giving links from a place in an e-commerce site which demonstrates expertise and has a blog. They've also demonstrated to Google the fact that the website is about hats, and they've got collections of hats that are relevant to Google because they've got lists of known brands in, right? Then they've got another SEO point scoring thing because they've got a hats page, which is a category page, and then they've got all these collections, and in the collections, you can buy products that are called flat caps, baseball caps, and fedoras. So this page is a 10 out of 10 SEO category page because it's got good navigation, good images, it's got a price guide, it's got some products on it, and then it's got these quality links down the bottom. So Google's going to score this page really, really well because it says what it is, and then it's got all the contents and links to prove it. So this is a kind of great example of how to do a category page and how to link a category page to a collection page. Now, if you're on Shopify and you're only using collection pages, then these bits down here are relevant for you. You can link off your collection page to brand pages. You can link off your collection page to fedoras, flat caps, and baseball pages, to other, collections of products. So there is something to learn from that about how to do it. So it's just useful to have a good example from someone who's done a great job. And I think these guys in particular have done a great job in the way that they've set up their category page. So you can work on your category pages. So when you look at the page and you think it's a bit thin, think, well, what can I add? Okay, I can add a little bit of text down the bottom that links to all my brands. I can add a little bit of text down the bottom that links to all my styles. I can add a little bit of text down the bottom that links to any blogs that I've got, right? That gives me text content on a thin page. What else can I do? I can put in a really good long alt description. and I can put in a really good title. Okay. The next thing that I can do is I can go and say the top of the page title is an H1, and I can use the other text to put in a couple of H2s about men's hats, flat hats, and fedora collections, or summer hats, or women's wear, or women's pants, women's linen pants, winter pants, exercise pants. I can use those to those titles H1 and H2 without much text to tell Google that from an SEO point of view that this is a quality page. So when I put up my Google ads or my Facebook marketplace ads and things like that, and I point towards this page because I'm selling hats or women's pants, it'll get a good quality score. Because Google and Facebook will look at it and say, this page, it's on a website that's about women's clothing or about clothing. This ad is about women's pants. The page is about women's clothing, and there are lots of links to women's pants. When I follow those links, they arrive at products that my clients can purchase that are pants, right? I'll give it an 8 or a 9 or a 10 quality score. That means you spend less money on your ads and you appear higher up. So
Peter, we have a question.
Yeah.
How do you add the link to your page from collections? And I think that maybe just very quickly, if you could just go through that.
Yeah. Okay. So all you do is that you add that as a hyperlink. Okay. So in the text, when you write text, there's the little 2 chain symbol, which is the hyperlink symbol. Okay. You copy the destination that you want to go, and you insert that into the text as a hyperlink. So if we look at hats, right? Let me just go there. Oh, where's my page gone? That's an ad. See all these pop-up ads over the top. Google will punish them for that, by the way. Because on a mobile, if the ad is too big for the screen and the client can't get to the content, Google will punish you for that. They've said that. That's one of their Christmas updates. So what happens if you look down the bottom here, all they've done is added text, and these links you can see down the bottom left-hand side of my screen or your screen is just a hyperlink to a destination. So they've gone to the destination, copied the link that they want you to go, that they want it to land on. They've come back in and underlined it, bolded it, and put it in a different color. So it's just a way of managing the text, right? And if I was going to do that in an email, all I do is I use this symbol here to insert a link, So I'm going to text the display will be women's clothes. And the link would be www.mysite/collections/women's clothes. You do that and you hit OK, and it would put the link in. See how it creates it in an email? When you write text in your, you can see the link, it's in there now. Hang on, if I go up there, the link is actually under there, right? But when you create text in the content of your pages in a category or collection page, that's all you do to put in a link to another product. Right? So if you're talking about fedoras and you've only got one, highlight the word fedora, put it in a different color, and go and find your fedora and copy that in as the hyperlink. And Google follows those links. They'll say they've got a link in here called fedora, and the quality score comes down to the fact that Google will look and say, is the page that it lands on called fedora? Yes. Does it have a product on it called fedora? Does it have a title on it called fedora? And can my client buy this? Is there a checkout? And they'll say yes, yes, and yes. So that's how quality scores work. Any questions? So that was really what I wanted to sort of cover off today in terms of action items, which is that we spend a lot of time before Christmas fixing collection pages, and we spend a lot of time fixing category pages. We've now got all year to get that right. So if we're going to make a collection page for Mother's Day, right? let's Mother's Day gifts. Let's make it, right? Let's make that page. Let's get our hero image on there. Let's look at all the words that were really successful last year. Let's get a few sub images on there, and we're going to call one of them Mother's Day gifts, gift ideas, and we're going to call the other one Mother's Day sale or Mother's Day promotion or Mother's Day 2022, and we're going to land those on different products or collection ideas, and then we're going to put some text down the bottom, and we're going to talk about some products. And when we talk about the products or the brands that we're selling, we're going to hyperlink them to the pages where people can buy and check out. Right? We can do all of that now. Right? So instead of going back and going, okay, I've got a set of Mother Day's collection, I've put this page up, how do we fix it? We can actually get onto some of this in advance. Right? And if we want to do an end of financial year page or back to school page, or we want to do an autumn sale page or anything like that, then we can think about, we can get this email open and say, have I got a title, a good page title that is relevant? Have I got a subtitle that is relevant? Is my image in there, big one, optimized? Have I got some text on there for Google? And does it link to some other products? Right? Then you'll have a good collection page. If you then put up an ad for that collection or category page, you'll get a high score. You'll see it'll come up 80 or 90, 8 or 9 in your quality score. So it's worth doing. Okay, so really it wasn't a long, huge session today, but there's quite a lot of choices of things that you can do in there. This was the educational part, and the other part was really about admin stuff that you can get to. So I'm going to stop there and hand back to Madalen, and then we can do any questions. Is that okay, Madalen?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much, Peter. That was actually an excellent presentation. And, there's so many points there that I think that if you just give yourself a bit of time, you'll be able to implement a lot of those things, or have someone implement them for you as a business. But certainly your expertise in SEO and analytics and ads and shone through. So it was great content and great ideas, and so thank you very much for that. Are there any questions at this point? I think, the other thing too is if anyone who is watching this would like any business support, mentoring, and it's not just on digital marketing, but it could be on your operations, creating a business case, working with other aspects of your business. If you need any support, please reach out to me at QVM@sbms.org.au, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. So at this stage, I'll just stop the recording. Thank you very much, Peter, once again. It was a great presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Okay.